Hello there, I'm Satsunami, a variety streamer on Twitch. Recently I've been playing games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Fall Guys, and the widely beloved Sonic 06. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can find me on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Satsunami42. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated. Speaking of business, we are, I think that is nearly done. So what we're going to go on to is a new section that was started, and this is basically where I ask people just before, like a couple of days before we go live, if they've got any questions about the topic that we're going to talk about. So I put out a notice on the Discord, and we actually got quite a few questions, like really good ones actually.
Really good one, yeah.
Yeah, so the first one comes from Marta, who says, what does your perfect horror game have to include, and what's essential to make it perfect? So I think, we had answered that in the last question.
Atmosphere, atmosphere, the broken, creepy record that I sounded this whole,
Yeah.
this whole atmosphere.
Yeah, Adam, there's going to be a test on this. You do know that, right?
I bet it's the one answer I don't get right.
Yeah. Oh dear. So our next question comes from Brian, who says, do you think you will ever again encounter Thomas Thomas? And if so, will you be able to vanquish him once and for all and rid us all of his torment? Do you want to explain this one, or will I?
I think you should, because you've got the personal history with Thomas Thomas. I wasn't there for that that episode, so I've got to leave it to you.
So basically, in the game Phasmophobia, when you go in, the game like randomly generates a name for the ghost that you're supposed to read out. So I was playing with, I think it was Sade and Stephen again, and it was weird because we were basically reading the how do I put this? Yeah, we were reading like the board that tells you who the ghost is going to be, and there was this one ghost who was literally called Thomas Thomas, and ever since then it's became kind of a running joke, especially when like other people encounter him, and it's that like you're looking at the screen like, hold on a minute, but I was like, no wonder he's a like angry ghost. Honestly, no wonder, because if I was called Thomas Thomas, I would be a bit peeved. I'm not gonna lie, I would be a bit peeved.
I don't want to take it out on the world, I think.
Yeah. So Craig is asking, what was the first horror game you played? So for me personally, it's probably Left 4 Dead, I would say. Like, if it's the first horror game, like I sat down and kind of played all the way through, definitely. Otherwise, it's just like themed levels, I suppose. Like the Time Splitters level, where you go into the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, that's actually a creepy one. That's a good. I never thought of that. That's actually a really creepy one.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Because
Horror moments in non-horror games.
I actually remember getting really terrified at that because, yeah, it's like it's a game that's like a very fun arcadey shooter game, and then all of a sudden there's a level where you have to go into a haunted house, and without spoiling it, because honestly you have to see it like to believe it, but there is just a turning point where you meet a particular person, and it's just like, what is this game? It's an amazing game, but you're just sitting there thinking, oh my god. But yeah,
I remember the moose that comes bursting out of the wall. That terrified me.
yeah, that was the one I was talking about. Oh, it is terrifying though, isn't it?
It was so scary when it first comes out.
I didn't expect it, because you're just sitting there thinking, oh, it's a good shooter, and then all of a sudden, bam, dead moose. You're like, oh no, not again.
Not again.
But yeah, sorry. What was your first game, Adam?
Yeah, so as I said, like first experience was like the kind of House of the Dead arcade cabinets.
Yeah.
Like early 2000s, late 90s. But then first proper horror game was BioShock. That was the first one I played. And then after that, Alan Wake, I think, was maybe the next one.
Oh,
Alan
of
Wake,
course.
Dead Space, I played them roughly about the same time. So yeah, those are my first kind of horror games.
No, good choices. Good choices. So now we've actually got a couple from Wonko the Sane, who I have to admit, like I was really impressed by some of these questions when I was reading through them. So his first question is, What is the right balance to be struck between player agency and experiencing horror? So basically, what's better? Like if a character has a gun, no gun, or limited ammo? So I'll let you answer first.
It's a really difficult one. It's a really good question as well. It's a really difficult one because I think it really depends on the game you're playing, and I don't know if I can have a definitive answer for this one. I'm going to be terrible and sit right on the fence. But like just looking at the three games that I picked, so Observer is one where you have it's Outlast style. You have no
Yeah.
means of defense apart from hiding and running. That's the only two you have. But then the other two I picked. Well, actually, no. Alien Isolation is the same as well. For the Alien itself, like you can only really defend yourself briefly. But then obviously Bioshock, you have guns
Yeah.
and pyramids and everything to defend yourself. So I guess maybe then like I'm going to sit firmly on the fence, but I'm going to lean slightly towards. I think it's more scary to have enemies that you can't like just kill. I think maybe a bit more. So does that come down on the player agency side? Is that the
Think so, yeah.
yeah? So I'll lean a bit more player agency. I think Resident Evil 7 did a good job of that as well. Of like having enemies that you could like defend yourself against, but them being like very tough and yeah, quite like challenging. So yeah, I'll lean towards player agency. But a good question, but it's a tough one.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you there. Because, as I said, like all the horror games that I've chosen are mainly non combative ones. Like, you can't fight really. There's ways you can technically defend yourself in Phasmophobia, but I haven't found them. That's why I keep dying in it.
Work out the smudge sticks, it will be.
Oh, exactly, yeah. As long as I can throw the crucifix at the right time, yeah, maybe I'll have a chance. But yeah, I mean, I've played games where, like, obviously Left 4 Dead, but I wouldn't really count that as like a major horror game. Like, I suppose the other example is Resident Evil. I've played a bit of some of the games, and I have to admit, even though you've got a gun, I mean, I suppose it's like I haven't played it, but I know of it. Is it Resident Evil 2 that's got Mr. X in it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it seems almost like that you can shoot certain enemies, but when it comes to the big bad guy, there's like no way to defend
yeah.
almost. And I think that I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure Outlast 2 kind of fixed that in the sense that you were allowed to push certain people away. But I remember that's one of the things I was annoyed at in the very first Outlast game, that you couldn't push away like just the normal guys
Yeah.
or guys without weapons. But yeah, it was just like everybody who you came up against, like you couldn't touch them, you couldn't do anything. You just had to run and pray for the best. And it was just like, ugh. But yeah, I would say, I mean, personally for me, I definitely think like not having the means to defend yourself and you having to be like the sole, I suppose, protector of your character, rather than them at least having a gun and being able to defend themselves. Yeah, I'd definitely go for player agency with that one. So this is another interesting question from Uncle. He says, are horror games actually horror, or are they more terror, and which do you prefer? So the way he's split it up is terror is more like the tension and apprehension before a scary event happens, whereas the horror is just like the disgust, panic, or revulsion at actually experiencing the scary event.
Yeah.
So like basically, I suppose like seeing something that's going to stick with you.
Ooh, it's a tricky one as well. Again, I think I'd probably more tempted to say the terror aspect of it. I think a lot of it is, and especially the ones that I've really enjoyed, I think has been the kind of anticipation, and it's not even been so much the event that's happened, like is in something memorable. It's more like it's how I felt, and I remember how like uneasy and how tense I was like playing games and stuff. So I think for me, it's the terror side of it that like sticks with you more. But again, there are some examples where things happen, like as the actual horror side, and you're like, you sharp and take a breath and scream. But like, yeah, I'll go with the terror side. I think.
Yeah, I would say the terror as well. I have to admit, I feel as if you have, like, I know we said it before, where it's like you have to have that kind of balance, but I feel as if you have too much horror, then it becomes boring. Which I know sounds like it sounds kind of like insensitive to be like, oh, so many bodies, but it's like if you keep getting hit by it's like Five Nights at Freddy's all over again, where the first couple of times like the horror just hits you right in the face and you think, oh my god, what happened? Whereas if you keep getting hit by the horror, then I mean it loses its not its charm, but it loses its impact, I
Yeah,
think. Whereas I think I would say I would agree with you in saying more terror. Because I think the terror definitely paralyzes you and makes you think, like, especially for Phasmophobia. Like, genuinely, see, when I bought the game, I was, like, hyped. I was right and ready to be like, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make some jokes, oh, this is going to be fun. And then as soon as I took one step in that door and the, like, ambient music played, I was like, oh, I don't like this.
a huge mistake.
I was genuinely like, I made a terrible mistake. Turning on the lights, like, I do not know why I've done this. Why have I done this? Why did I say I would stream this? Honestly, it's just like, oh, it does such a good job. But yeah, terror, I would say. So the next question is, what was the most memorable moment when a non-horror game suddenly became or behaved like one? I'll let you go first.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, I already mentioned Ravenholm,
Oh,
Half-Life
gosh.
2, which is one that's really stuck with me. And there's a couple of other ones actually that have been smaller moments, not even like whole levels. But I don't know. Do you ever play Metal Gear Solid 2?
I've played bits of it.
Have you
But
ever played the bit where like you have the Colonel who's like speaking to you through like who's your kind of main
oh
like,
yeah,
and then there's a bit later on in the game where he freaks out and he goes, "Oh, it's like the visuals change and he's telling you all this like random like just nonsensical stuff and it's really creepy like and like you're like later on in the game and stuff and it's just like he's just bringing you up at random points and some points he's like a skull, other points he's like not facing you and he's telling all those random that really
I can imagine that.
unsettling me.
Yeah.
There's one point where he tells you to turn off your like, console, which I remember a friend of mine saying he was playing late at night once, and then the Colonel put on said, "Turn off your console," and he was like, "Okay," and he went and switched it off. Which I think is maybe the most effective example of like that kind of unsettling.
I mean, is that not a thing in the first? I haven't played it, but I know of it. The first Metal Gear Solid game where it's like I think is it Praying Mantis or something?
Oh yeah. Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis, sorry. Praying Mantis, same thing. Psycho Mantis, yeah, he ends up like reading the games on your memory card,
Yeah.
apparently, and he says things like, "Oh, I see you've been playing Banjo Kazooie, Crash Bandicoot," and it's like I can imagine like being young and like hearing that and being like, "How did he know? How did he know?"
It's pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, it's
Pretty
a
clever.
it's a really clever mechanic, I have to admit.
Yeah,
It is a really cool mechanic. I like it.
it's really good.
Soft spot. I
So,
suppose. Oh,
the
sorry.
other two I was going to quickly say were like there's one bit in Batman Arkham Asylum where your first encounter with like Scarecrow. Leading up to that, you go into a morgue.
Oh,
And
of course.
do you know what I'm talking about? That one where
Yeah.
like everything like you're in it a couple of times, and then like Bruce Wayne's parents like you open the body bags and Bruce Wayne's parents are in them, and then like the
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to call them lockers. That's not at all what they're called, but
Yeah.
kind of like so they store the dead body. I'm just calling them lockers now.
Yeah.
But they start like opening up and going crazy, and like there's a voice being like, "Get out of here, get out!" And it really freaked me out when I played it the first time. And then the last one I thought of was in this game called Gone Home, which I don't know if you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a kind of walking. It's one of these walking simulator ones where you like you're kind of you've been like you're like a teenager who's been off on like a gap year, and you like come back to your parents' house, and like your sister's missing and stuff, and you have to kind of like explore the house. There's a bit where you have to go like down into the basement of the house, and it's proper. It really like sets up like
Yeah.
the tension and everything, and it's really scary. And you find some secret passages in the house and stuff, and that really kind of puts you on edge. You find some like kind of spooky stuff there,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So yeah, those were the three that really for me kind of stood out.
Those are good choices, I have to admit. I mean, going back to like what I was saying before, other than the Harry Potter one, which was honestly never again. Honestly, it sullied my opinion on trolls. That's all I'll say. But I mean, other than I think one of the other ones, this is going to sound like a weird one, but did you ever play any of the old like 3D Sonic games? Like,
No, apart from the What one did I play at yours? Is it Sonic? That Sonic Adventure?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the only one I played.
I mean, I suppose it's like the same in even the 2D Sonic games, but there's always a bit where, see if you're underwater, and
Oh, the
that's
music.
it. Yeah, it's the music which really freaked me out because it is. It's just like that urgency, and then the counter just slowly going five, four, three, and it's like, oh, your cartoon hedgehog's gonna die, and you're like, wait, no, 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 no. And then that's it. Like it just ends, and you have to restart. But it's like those like couple of moments where it just hits you. You're like, oh my goodness.
I
But
know I can imagine that one being, especially at like a young age, being absolute like scarring you.
because I remember there was a level like there's a level in Sonic Adventure 2 where at the very end you have to like go underwater for like extended periods of time. And you can like get the air bubbles and everything, but it's like really difficult to get through that level if you don't have like a particular item to breathe underwater. And I didn't know about this like until I think like later on. This was still the days of dial-up internet, so it's like I didn't really know what to do until I realised you had to go back to a level, you had to collect the item and all of that. But before then, it was just hearing that music just traumatized me. I was like, oh, I don't like it. I don't like being underwater. And I remember like replaying that in stream, and there was like someone in the chat who had said, he'd basically said, "Oh my god, this is terrifying. I don't like this." And I'm like, "Well, you and me both. I do not like doing this." And the final question is, and this is quite a good one, Wonko. Like genuinely, I was really like, "Oh, this is interesting." Is what is the main appeal of horror games? Is it a cathartic release of fear and psychological tension, where you're purging yourself of negativity and anxiety, or is it just the adrenaline, can't speak, thrill of playing on the edge of your seat and being scared?
Yeah, that's a really good one as well. Like, I think it has to be the first one. I think it has to be that kind of catharsis because, like, I think the kind of getting that adrenaline ride is great as well. But I'm not sure if there wasn't a catharsis, like, I'd want to play many of these games because I think I would just be too like wound up, like But when I was playing them, or by the time I finished, that I'd be like, that's just too stress. Like, I think of something like Emily Wants to Play, which like I've never been able to finish it because the last level is just too overwhelming and there's just
Yeah.
too much happening, and it's just like I don't know, like maybe there's that catharsis, but there's too much for me to get to that. So it has to be that. I think it's that catharsis that really, yeah, as like you were saying, just gets you like, oh, it feels such a release, and like I can sleep like a baby tonight,
Yeah.
like I've like purged of everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely for me.
No, I agree. I, as I said, like horror games were never really my go-to. Like when I was younger, like obviously I was more into like kind of shooter games or platformer games or basically games where I had more control over what was happening on screen, really. But I think, I mean, technically, I think the first exposure, kind of going way back to what we were talking about before, was the zombie mode in like Call
Oh
of
yeah.
Duty and things. And I feel as if like that was kind of the first hook. Like playing it initially, I was really terrified because I didn't want to be obviously overwhelmed by all the zombies and just the screaming and the noises. But definitely, like last month as well, when I said to everyone, "Oh, I'm going to play like a spooky game a week and everything," and you almost get like addicted to playing some of them. I have to say, like
It's weird, isn't it? It's so right.
yeah, like so as I said, I played Outlast, got really like into it, and I was like, "Oh, this game was great. I wonder what I'm playing next week." Then I played Little Nightmares, and then I thought, "Oh, this is a good one as well. It's different, but it's good." Then I played Condemned, and I was like, "Yeah, it's good. I get." It's like because you've had like so many scares before, it's like you're kind of looking for that next scare almost.
Yeah.
Like the horror genre definitely isn't something I would actively seek, but to see once you started playing a game like it, or you're in that kind of mindset where you're thinking, I want to play a game that's going to scare me silly, then definitely,
Get that weird
yeah.
feels.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you just kind of get. Because I remember I was talking to one of my friends off stream about that, and she was saying, "Oh my goodness, you're addicted," and I'm like, "Well, yeah." That's what it felt like. It's like, well, yeah, I'm looking for the next scary game, and oh goodness me. So the final question, which was brought up by good old Green Shield, is, and this one as well is really interesting. Is there a horror movie that you would like a game of, and vice versa? Is there a horror game that you would like to see a movie for? And he's put in brackets here, excluding the obvious answer of Deadly Premonition.
I don't want to see a film with that because, like, there's no way anybody can capture the absolute unless Swery's directing it. There's
Oh, yeah.
no chance anybody can come close to the flawed genius that is Dead Premonition.
Or Lynch, you never know. I mean,
Oh, that's
Lynch,
true.
yeah. I mean, I think that would be a dream come true for him. Uh,
To be honest, that is true. We can hope.
I mean, for me, I suppose in terms of like a horror movie, yeah, I would like a game of. I suppose Scream. Like, I don't think does Scream have like a game?
I don't actually know, to be honest. Like, I'm not aware of.
Because I know like Friday the 13th has one and all of that, but I don't know if that would just turn into the same kind of game. Like as Dead by Day, because I know Dead by Daylight technically has Ghostface, like the main antagonist of it, in that game. So it's like, don't know if it would just be the same game, you know?
I mean, I don't. I think there was rumors of a game. I think there maybe even rumors recently of a game that was coming out. I think Scream got the Ghostface got added to that Dead by Daylight. I think.
Yeah,
Added to that.
yeah. I don't know if it would just be the same as that though, where it's just one person's a killer and then he's just hunting the let
It
others
could.
survive.
I mean, other ways you could do it as well. Like it's an interesting. Like I think it's a good one. Like I didn't think about that as like a movie as being one, but I think you could do something interesting with that. Um, the one. Have you got any others or?
Yeah, no, I'll let you answer first because I've got a real like bone to pick with the second part of the question.
Fair enough. Like the one that like I'm gonna slightly cheat here because this horror film has been made into a game and it's actually supposed to be quite a good game. It was like out on the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2. But I was thinking the Thing, John
Oh,
Carpenter one I like, and it apparently has been made into like a quite a decent game already. In the early 2000s, but I thought like just because the kind of for anybody who's not seen, have you seen the Thing? Have you?
that's another one that I have to kind of watch.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else like listening has like seen the Thing or knows of it. But the basic kind of thing that sorry, the basic it's a lot about kind of mistrust and like
Hmm.
like deception, people not like being sure like who's been infected by this alien and like who's not and stuff. And I thought you could make I think you could make a cool kind of game, genre kind of game based on that. Where I don't know quite how you would do it, but if you could do something where you had like different NPCs and everything, and you weren't sure who to trust, but at the same time they weren't sure about you, and perhaps there were things you could do to like to gain people's trust and things like that. And again, I'm not sure how it would work, but I think if you could do something kind of cool like that, I think it would be a really interesting game with a kind of mechanic like that. The only other one that I thought of was like I thought about Pan's Labyrinth. And again, I'm not sure again how much
Oh,
Pan's Labyrinth counts as a horror film, but there's definitely kind of elements of it.
oh, yeah.
Cool world.
I mean
That would
that.
be a cool world to explore because you've got the dual horror of there's kind of the fantasy horror
Mhm.
elements to it as well, but there's also like the kind of main horror elements of living in like a fascist society. So you have like both those bits. So I thought like if you could do something like cool in that kind of universe would be good. But knowing the track,
Mhm.
knowing the history of like knowing the kind of track record of like video game movies and stuff. I was just watching a video of some really bad like video game horror kind of movies. Like
Mhm.
go check out 1992's like Bram Stoker's Dracula for
Oh, yeah.
Keanu Reeves like karate kicking bats. It's the one that stands out to me. But yeah, those are the two that I thought might be kind of interesting ones.
That film is amazing, and you know it.
The game as well.
Oh, totally, yeah. Um, but yeah, in terms of the horror game to see a movie, I don't know if it just falls into the same trap of video game movie, therefore it's going to be bad. Because I
Yeah.
know, is it Uwe Boll, his name is? Or Uwe Boll, who's like an infamous German director who does all of the, like, I can't remember if he did Eternal Darkness or something Darkness. He does
He
like,
did. Yep, he did Eternal Darkness.
yeah, he does
Well,
like,
Alone in the Dark. Sorry,
Alone
Alone in
in
the
the
Dark.
Dark, sorry, that's the one. Yeah, so there's been like loads of horror films that are just absolutely terrible. I mean, you've got like all of his collection, like, and yeah, I'm just trying to think of the other ones. Like, you've got Silent Hill, you've
Yeah,
got
the Resident Evil's got quite a few.
yeah, Resident Evil. Did you say?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's got quite
yeah,
a lot of those ones.
yeah. No, that's true. Oh god, it's just it is horrific. So I don't think I would like to see like a horror, unless it was Among Us. But I feel as if I'm living the fear. Like I wouldn't be surprised if someone like picked up and made like a Phasmophobia film or something similar. And the
Yeah,
only
well, they're
reason,
quite nice at Freddy's, aren't
oh
they? So I feel like
Jesus, yeah.
Phasmophobia is not long for a couple. You give it a couple of years, they'll be making it.
I think the one that made me laugh the most was Slender Man, because I know technically that's not a game, but it was like the character, then it was the series, then it was the game, and then like a couple of years later, when it wasn't relevant anymore, it became like a film, and you thought, why?
Yeah, that's kind of a bit late for that party, but oh well.
Oh god,
We'll get Phasmophobia one 10 years from now, probably then.
that is true. But no, I think that is us nearly at the end. I'm just going to have a quick look through the chat just to see what we've missed. Earlier, Wonko, when we were talking about like scary scenes from games that shouldn't have been scary, Wonko brought up the scene of the flood.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
like the one that you first meet them.
yeah,
Oh
where you
yeah,
first meet them.
yeah. That was one that scarred me as a child, certainly.
Yeah. Oh god, definitely. Skelly Jane had said, if you were a character in a horror game, who would die first? To which Greenshield replied, Satsu. He makes puns, always dies first. And you know what? I agree with that.
That's a convincing argument, but I think it would be me, to be honest. Like, I think I would just do something really dumb. Like, I don't know, I'd be that one who, like, hears a noise and then be like, oh, I'm just going to go off and investigate that. And then you don't find me until, like, a couple hours later and you find my, like, severed head or something, like, in a fridge.
Is
So
it?
I think
Oh,
me who goes out first.
that's the thing though. Is it? Or is it like the Scooby Doo scenario where neither of us die? Because we're both that terrified that we run away.
That's true. I do feel like I would just be like, I'm gonna call it on this one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Either that or I get the directions wrong and I go to the wrong house. I'm just in these, like, perfectly fine house, just creeping around.
That is true. Like, I mean, in my house, like, whenever I turn on the heat and you hear, like, all the pipes, like, kind of banging and everything, and it's like, I remember the first time, like, I'd moved in and I was like, what the hell is that? You know, thinking, oh god, there's someone upstairs, and it's like, no, it's just pipes. It's like nothing exciting. Um, the other thing Green Shield has said was, for in terms of like scary things in games, saying the noise for being low on Hearts and Zelda is another one, and also in Pokemon, like when your Pokemon's poisoned in the outer world, and yeah, it's quite scary that noise. Or it's not scary, but it gives you like kind of anxiety when you're like walking around and you know your Pokemon's like that much closer to death. And what was the last one? Oh yeah. So Skeleton had brought up missing the obvious choice for horror film to game, Ice Queen. Help Ed with his alcoholism. Now, she's also followed up with saying, I really hope you've seen this, Tsunami. I think we watched it with you, otherwise that reference will have made no sense. Is that the one that they get like trapped in the ski lodge because there's an avalanche?
Yeah, the avalanche buries the ski lodge, and they're trapped with the Ice Queen. Everybody go get a copy of Ice Queen. It's well worth. It doesn't matter how much you have to pay. It's trust me, it's amazing. Yes, make it Ice Queen. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. Oh, I've forgotten the obvious one. Birdemic. Birdemic. That would make a hell of a game. It's like Duck Hunt, but just like
Duck Hunt for our times.
yeah, Duck Hunt for. I don't even know what the recent generator is. It Gen X or the? I don't even know.
Who knows what Gen? Yeah, let's say Gen X.
Or the millennials. Why not? I know we are technically millennials, but you know what? Those damn millennials ruining it with their Duck Hunts.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness. Gen Z. Yeah, thank you, Green Shield, for clarifying. Green Shield was also saying, I also mentioned earlier about the Polar Express game. One scene in the game was terrifying. I don't actually remember that.
No, I mean I remember the creepy visuals of the film,
Oh
but
yeah, Tom Hanks' face and like mocap is just that is enough for me.
especially at that time, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, horror games. If you can't love them, don't play them. Um, is there any advice you would give Adam for any final words of wisdom you would give for anyone wanting to play a horror game?
I think I think like I would say if you do want to play a horror game, I'd say try and play one by yourself just to experience it. But then also like I know it's obviously difficult in these times now. But you know,
Yeah,
if time we ever are allowed to visit, or maybe people are allowed to visit people in some places. So if you
yeah,
are allowed to visit people, or when we are allowed to, like try and play one with like a friend or a couple of friends or some people, because I think they're two really good experiences, different in their own ways, but like they do make for a lot of fun. I think there is something quite fun about just sitting together and playing a horror, even if you're just watching somebody play. It's almost like
yeah,
kind of like bonding experience. So I'd say try both things because there is fun to be had. They are quite fun. There are some really good ones out there that are actually like really good games in their own right.
yeah.
So yeah, give them a try. You know, what's the worst that could happen?
Everything.
Please don't sue me when when the worst happens.
So his name's Adam, and he is on Chat Tsunami.
That's it. End it. End it.
Oh god. Yeah. So on that on that note, don't worry, I'll post Adam's details. If you want to get in touch to sue him. Nah, jokes aside. So yeah, as always, thank you all so much for dropping by and joining us as we talk about our experiences with good old horror games. And thank you again, Adam, for joining me again this week. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me back again. This was a lot of fun, and thank everybody for your questions as well. They were really good and actually really thought provoking. So yeah, thanks all round.
Yeah, no, they definitely were. I was actually reading them, and I was saying to you, like off stream, Adam, like, oh my god, look at these questions. Like I had,
So good.
yeah, I had to like go away and have like a really good think about it. Like, huh, what do I think about this? Reevaluating my life choices. Jeez, oh, can't even speak. That's how petrified I am. Oh, dearie me. But yeah, so yeah, on that note, we're gonna wrap up here. So Skelly Jen, oh that's interesting. Definitely do a chat on female characters in games. Would love to hear your opinions. That would be quite interesting.
Interesting one.
Yeah. See, the real gems are in the chat. Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes I think, is it the co-host? And I'm like, no, it's the chat. No.
Well, I mean, I should be annoyed, but really, you're right. I can't argue that.
Oh, I'm only joking, kind of. Um, damn it! Where's the end stream button?